Back on the eve of Martin Luther King Jr. Day, joining me now is no other than social justice activist, human rights advocate, and the eldest son of MLK Jr., Martin Luther King III. Martin, you're in Washington. I'm joining you later tonight for our annual National Action Network breakfast that you have been kind enough for years to co-chair. And as you wake up tomorrow and as the eldest child and heir to the work of your father, and we see the country polarized, we see a rise of hate crimes, we see blacks being charged with anti-Semitic attacks, we see people charged with attacks on blacks, we see a gun rally tomorrow where neo-Nazis are talking about coming. How do you view this in light of all that your father gave, including his life, as we celebrate a day and we have as much or more enmity in the country based on race as we saw 52 years ago when he was killed?
So, Rev, thank you so much for the question. First of all, I think what we have to understand is now is the time for more progressive, positive vigilance. You can never address hostility with hostility. You will never be able to, Dad, you said it best, darkness can't put out darkness. Only light can do that. Violence cannot put out violence, only nonviolence. We have to operate at a far higher moral level than anyone else, even in a very uncivil political environment. We have to maintain civility. Dad talked about love and transformation. It's not just turning the other cheek, though, but it is showing there is a better way to do things. There are far more people who are of goodwill who want to be positive than there are those of ill will. And somehow we got to live with our brothers and sisters no matter who they are.
Now, as you look at what is going on now, and you encourage other forms of activism and, as you say, to take the higher moral standard that your father taught the world, one of the things that he achieved was mobilizing around the Voting Rights Act. And we see in your home state of Georgia, where I am tonight, voters being purged. We've seen it in different parts of the country. How important is people voting, maintaining the right to vote, and exercising their right to vote this year, no matter who they vote for? How important is it in this climate that we deal with encouraging people to vote and dealing with voting suppression, particularly being emphasized tomorrow on MLK Day?
That is the most important issue. It's very interesting, Reverend, that in our state where they have purged 300,000 voters, it's interesting that you're not, it seems like if you can't vote, you shouldn't have to pay taxes. I don't know anybody who's not paying their taxes. So just because you don't vote a year or two, you get purged, there's something wrong with that law. But the only way you change that law is we have to vigilantly participate at levels higher. In other words, they've removed 300,000. We got to register 600,000. And we need to do that in every community, whether it's North Carolina, whether it's Texas, whether it's Tennessee, whether it is Minnesota, everywhere where we can be registered. We need to register like we've never registered before, educate folk, and then encourage people to go out to the polls. Voter registration with education, ultimately, we think will create participation. And I think people have something to vote for this year, unlike any time in the history. I used to say, as you and many of us, this is the most important election of our time. This election truly is.
Now, what do you, in the few seconds we have left, what do you encourage people to do tomorrow on Martin Luther King Day as Martin Luther King III? What would you most like to see people do to recognize the holiday your mother fought for and your father is the principal of?
Well, in addition to going to programs, there will be programs. I think we need to be transforming our communities, whatever that means, whether that's cleaning it up, whether that's painting, whether that is helping seniors, whether that's being involved with donating blood. Do something around community service. If we can live in peace for a day, we can master it for a week. If we can master peace a week, maybe a year and even a lifetime.
Time to get it back.
All right, Martin Luther King III, thank you for being with us.